Welcome, everyone, to the Remembrance Day for Lost Species. As I mentioned, my name is Ann Price. I'm the program manager for Waterspirit. Waterspirit is a spiritual ecology nonprofit sponsored by the Sisters of St. Joseph of Peace. We were founded in 1998 by Sister Suzanne Golis. Since that time, we have informed, inspired, empowered people of all beliefs to deepen their consciousness of the sacredness of water and the interdependence of all Earth systems. We promote the personal and systemic transformations needed for a flourishing Earth with clean, safe water for everyone. So before we begin, hold on, another to admit. There we go. Thank you, Claire. Before we begin, I'd like to inform all of our guests that this program is being recorded and it will be available on Waterspirit's YouTube channel. We respectfully ask you to keep your microphones on mute during the presentations. We will have time for comments and questions after the speakers have concluded. We welcome you to turn on your cameras so we can be together in the room. And please use the chat to tell us who you are and where you're calling in from. So we will be, you may also place questions in the chat if you have any questions for the panelists. We'll be lighting a candle during our ceremony, and we invite you to have a candle ready to light to participate in the moment. Before I introduce a panel of amazing speakers, let's take a moment to acknowledge whose land we're on. Waterspirit is located in the homeland of the Navasink Lenni Lenape on the peninsula named Navarumsunk. We respectfully acknowledge the Lenape people, past, present, and future here in Lenape-Hoking and throughout the diaspora. We respect their knowledge, culture, and tradition, which have contributed to the conservation of land and water. We offer our care and gratitude for Lenape-Hoking, as well as our commitment to establish just and right relations with these land and waters. Now, I'd like to give a moment for our panelists to introduce themselves. This panel is composed of amazing people who've given so much of themselves in the field of environmental protection, conservation, and environmental education. So first we have Larissa Smith from the Conserve Wildlife Foundation of New Jersey.
Hi, thank you, Anne, for asking me to participate today. I am a biologist with the Conserve Wildlife Foundation New Jersey. I have been working for the nonprofit for 23 years. And New Jersey works with rare, endangered, threatened species throughout New Jersey. So we have an office in Princeton, but we work, biologists, educators working from north to south. I live in Cape May County. So I do most of my work down here. One of the major projects I work on is the New Jersey Bald Eagle Project, which is how I know Anne, because she's one of my wonderful eagle nest monitors. And I also work on other projects, eastern tiger salamanders, shorebirds, ospreys, barn owls, wherever I'm needed. So I look forward to this. Thank you.
Now I'd like to introduce Jenna Reynolds from Save Coastal Wildlife.
Hi, thanks for having me, Anne. Appreciate it. Very honored to be here today. So Save Coastal Wildlife is an organization that's been around for about 5 years. I'm the president, director, and also one of the founders of Save Coastal Wildlife. And its mission is to help educate people about ways to protect biodiversity along the Jersey Shore through restoration, citizen science projects, volunteer projects. We do a lot of volunteer and citizen science projects. We do cleanups once a month along the Jersey Shore to help remove and restore our tidal wetlands and our beaches. In fact, we have a cleanup coming up later in December at Sandy Hook. We try to clean up our beaches and wetlands on that cleanup on December, I want to say December 9th, that's coming up. So please join us if you can. Otherwise, we monitor seals during the winter time. We have a training coming up this Saturday for that. We also monitor horseshoe crabs and ospreys and fish populations and a whole bunch of things. So please go to our website, www.savecoastalwildlife.org, and you can find out all the wonderful things that we do.
And now I have the pleasure of introducing Pat Heaney from the Watershed Institute.
Hi, thank you so much, Anne, and it's nice to meet everyone. My name's Pat Heaney. I am the Assistant Director of Education at the Watershed Institute. Watershed Institute will be celebrating its 75th year in 2024 next year. So we're excited about that. Our goal, our mission has always been clean, safe, healthy water for all. We do that in a variety of ways. Conservation, we are on a property of over 950 acres, and we have a conservation department to help take care of that. Advocacy and policy. Our policy department works with local municipal governments as well as the state and sometimes even the federal to enact clean water legislation to protect the water. And our science department monitors the streams. They have a whole cadre of volunteers who go out and monitor for water quality, and that's been going on for over 30 years now. And I am in the education department, and we educate people about clean, safe, healthy water. So thank you, Anne. I'll turn it back to you.
Thank you, everyone. As I've already mentioned, I'm Ann Price. I'm the program manager for Waterspirit, and I get to do events such as this, such as the winter solstice celebration. And then I'm also very fortunate that I actually volunteer for each of these organizations that are being represented here today, because I look at environmental protection as not just my job, it's my mission in life. And we are all here on the same mission, so thank you so much for being here to represent today. I decided to offer this visual today after reading about the 21 species of plants and animals that were delisted from the United States Endangered Species list in 2023. So they were not delisted because they've improved. These animals, also plants, were delisted because they've been declared extinct. They join the list of over 650 United States species, which have likely been lost to extinction, according to the Center for Biological Diversity.
So Remembrance Day of Lost Species is a chance each year to explore the stories of extinct and critically endangered species, cultures, lifeways, and ecological communities. It emphasizes that these losses are rooted in violent, racist, and discriminatory practices. It provides an opportunity for people to renew commitments to all that remains, and the Remembrance Day for Lost Species was conceived by the Brighton-based arts charity ONCA.
Now, to honor and remember these lost species, we're going to light candles. We're going to leave them lit for 21 minutes to remember these 21 species. And I have an alarm I'm going to set. And when the alarm goes off, we will extinguish our flames. So Anne's got her candle lit, light mine. If anyone else has a candle to light, do that right now. And we'll let that burn for 21 minutes, one for each species.
Okay. While we have the candles burning, I'd like to ask the 4 panelists to join me as we use this moment to read aloud the list of these species.
The Mariana fruit bat of Guam.
The bridled white-eye bird of Guam.
Bachman's warbler.
Maui akipa.
Maui nekupuhu.
Kakavahia.
Hauli.
Hawali akilo.
Kauai nekupuhu.
Kauai pu'u.
Kauai kama'au.
San Marcos gambusi.
Skioto matam.
The flat pigtoe mussel.
The green blossom pearly mussel.
Southern acorn shell mussel.
Stirrup shell mussel.
Tubercured blossom pearly mussel.
Turgid blossom pearly mussel.
Upland comb shell mussel.
And the yellow blossom pearly mussel.
Thank you. How did these animals go extinct? We could summarize and say from human activity or from climate change. But I think it would benefit us all to hear how each of these animals was lost. Both the Mariana fruit bat of Guam and the bridled white-eyed bird of Guam are now considered extinct due to habitat loss and to the unintentional introduction of the invasive and predatory brown tree snake.
The Bachman's warbler was a small yellow and gray migratory bird native to the southeast United States, inhabiting swamps and bottomland forests. The Bachman's warbler extinction was due to the loss of its breeding grounds through deforestation, drainage, and stream channelization. The birds wintered primarily in Cuba, where habitat loss were especially severe as land was cleared for sugarcane plantations. The 8 Hawaiian honey creepers had a multitude of dangers leading to their extinction: loss of habitat, overhunting, and invasive pests. Some invasive species, like feral pigs, destroy habitat, while others can bring in diseases. Even avian malaria, an introduced disease carried by invasive mosquitoes, has had a devastating impact on many of Hawaii's endemic forest birds. As the climate warms, the mosquitoes are reaching higher altitudes on the islands and infecting even more birds with avian malaria.
The San Marcos gambusa, a 1-inch long fish from Texas, lived exclusively in the clear spring water coming from the headwaters of the San Marcos River in Hays County, Texas. Their extinction was caused by a reduced flow of water from the springs and water pollution from the growth of nearby cities, as well as the introduction of non-native species. The demise of the Scioto matom, a small catfish found exclusively in the Big Darby Creek in Ohio, was caused by modification of the fish's habitat from siltation, industrial pollution, and agriculture runoff.
8 freshwater mussels have been listed as extinct this year. Destruction of habitat has been one of the biggest impacts on these freshwater mussels. This includes the construction of dams that altered how the rivers flow and function. The structures heat the water at the top of the river and create oxygen-starved dead zones at the bottom. North America's native mussels are also battling invasive species, overharvesting, farm fertilizers, pesticides, and heavy metals from coal mining and industrial waste. The Center for Biological Diversity has called freshwater mussels the most endangered organisms in North America.
It would be very easy to throw up our hands in defeat and do nothing, but we can't give up that easy. Each of the panelists here is part of an organization continuing to work to protect nature, protect water, plants, and wildlife. Listen to each of them describe just a sampling of some of the projects conducted by their organization.
Okay, thank you. I realize that that's when you hear that list and the reasons for them being delisted, it's extremely depressing and overwhelming. And so, you know, for me to keep going, you know, working with rare species, you have to look at the species that have come back from the brink of extinction. And I think everybody knows about bald eagles. This project I work on, ospreys, peregrine falcons. You know, people all, you know, work together from the, you know, early 80s to bring these populations back. And that's, you know, just an example of species that are doing well. And they're also charismatic species. It's easy to get people involved to want to save those species. I also work with eastern tiger salamanders, which is a species that's a little harder to get people to want to save. They're, you know, you don't see them. They burrow in the ground most of the year, except when they come up to breed. And I personally think they're adorable, but not everybody does. And they're only located in a few, you know, I think we have about 15 pools right now in southern New Jersey where they're found. And, you know, they're facing a lot of issues, you know, also as well as most amphibians and reptiles. So I think you know, as other people have mentioned on the panel, the way to really get people interested, especially young people's education. And, you know, we also do a lot of that. We work with a lot of other groups. And I think when you see, you know, adults, but especially children getting excited about these species, that's what the future is going to be. You know, they're going to be taking over from us the work that we've done. And I think there's always hope out there, you know, to save other species before, you know, they're also delisted because they become extinct. Thank you.
So as I mentioned before, Safe Coastal Wildlife does a lot of citizen science and volunteer projects to try to help educate people about all the biodiversity and the threats of biodiversity along the Jersey Shore. One thing we've been very passionate about is plastics, trying to get rid of the plastics or diminish the plastics along the Jersey Shore. Lots of people, there's lots of population people who live along the Jersey Shore. And so as a result, there's lots of plastic pollution. We've teamed up with the Plastic Wave Project to help monitor our beaches for microplastics. Microplastics are these very small plastics that often break down from your fleece jacket or fleece blankets, or could be from plastic water bottles or even tires. So the microplastics, they can be really deadly because they harbor viruses and diseases. And one reason why, you know, whales are dying along the Jersey Shore, it's been getting a lot of press over the last couple of years, is not only from ship strikes and entanglement in fishing gear and ghost gear, but also they get sick from the viruses and diseases that get attached to the microplastics. We're also very passionate about horseshoe crabs. We monitor horseshoe crabs around Sandhook Bay and Raritan Bay, and we've been doing that for over 10 years now. We've seen the population going down, and one reason for that is they harvest horseshoe crabs for bait, to harvest eels and whelks that are often eaten overseas in Europe and in Asia, but they also harvest it for the biomedical industry as well too. Everything that gets into your body, vaccines, it could be something else into your body. Anything that goes into your body gets tested from horseshoe crab blood. And so the biomedical industry also harvests our horseshoe crabs. And what happens is they take so much blood from the horseshoe crabs that they're often too weak to continue to mate for that year. And sometimes they don't bring them back to the beaches where they harvest them from. Sometimes they bring them back to different beaches. So we find our horseshoe crabs around New York Harbor in Sandhook Bay and Raritan Bay often being decimated by what we call the blood, which is the bait industry, or the blood, which is the biomedical industry, and the bait industry. So between microplastics, monitoring horseshoe crabs, and then the seal population as well too, which gets beat up a lot by people trying to get too close to the seals and take selfies and things like that. So trying to educate people about, you know, using less plastic, and also trying to protect our horseshoe crabs and our seals and all the other species along the Jersey Shore. It takes a lot of work, and that's why we try to work with other people. We try to work with other organizations. We try to get a lot of volunteers and a lot of citizen science projects out there to get people hands-on outdoors, outside, to see for themselves what's happening along the Jersey Shore and try to protect all the biodiversity along the Jersey Shore.
Thank you. At the Watershed Institute, we're trying in a variety of ways to help these creatures by keeping the water clean, because we say clean, safe, healthy water for all, not just for people, but for the plants and animals as well. And although we're not working as directly as Jenna and Larissa are, we're working in other ways because everyone needs clean water. Our advocacy department is, as I mentioned, works at the municipal, especially, but different levels. But we really encourage other people to advocate in their own towns, because our department can't be everywhere. And, you know, New Jersey is quickly becoming the warehouse state, and that has a great deal of impact on water quality because of all the impervious surfaces that are going in. So one of the things we're doing is training people through a community watershed advocate program, and we train people to go to their towns, to how to talk to the planning board, how to become part of the environmental commission or the green team in the towns, but how to interact and help make sure that these projects aren't impacting the water in a negative way. Another thing is our science department has been involved in dam removals in the state. And you heard when I talked about the mussel populations earlier. Now, those mussels weren't here in New Jersey, but these dams do sometimes impact the wildlife species, the fish, especially mussels and other organisms. So taking part in dam removals in places where the dams are not needed anymore. Often they're old kind of relic dams, but they still do stop the fish and the organisms from getting to where they need to be. So that's a big part of it. And of course, monitoring the waters. We have several community projects. The big one is our Stream Watch water quality monitoring, where people go out and they look at the biological activity. They're looking at the macroinvertebrates in the streams to test for the water quality. They're doing chemical monitoring to see what's happening there, especially from fertilizers and pesticides and things like that. And then there's the bacterial monitoring as well. So that goes on. We also do a salt watch study because fresh water is not supposed to be salt water. Some of you work with salt water, and that's good. That's the marine side, but on the pedestrian side, it's not supposed to be salty. But that gets in there because of all the salt that we put on our roads, because we don't want our cars sliding off the roads. But that does have an impact. So we have a community salt monitoring program. I know Anne just showed me she got her salt monitoring strips in the mail and people go out and do that. And we're also working with students for a Stream Watch Schools program, having students as young as kindergarten go out and monitor the streams. Now that data is not the same high quality data as we're getting from our stream watchers, you know, who go through all kinds of quality control measures. But again, it gets the children interested in going out and looking at data, even if it's very simple data that kindergartners are collecting. So those are just a few of the things we're doing at the watershed because everyone needs clean water. Thank you.
So you can see why I invited these people here. These are some real powerhouse teams. And I also see on the call a few of my friends that work at New Jersey Audubon, another excellent conservation organization. I'm so proud to be a part of Waterspirit, that I get to do public programs, that I do get to take people out to go monitor seals on the beach, but I also do things that are trying to help people connect deeper to nature. I want people to be closer to Earth through their own connections. They'll want to protect this planet as well. So I do some mindfulness in nature programs. I do winter solstice programs coming up soon that people can come and celebrate the changing of the seasons. But also we do an eco-anxiety support group because as climate change is happening, a lot of people get very nervous about the changing climate. It causes some anxiety for a lot of people. So Waterspirit hosts a support group for that as well. We do some great things. I also see that Rachel Dawn Davis is on the line. If you would like to talk a tiny bit about some of the things you do for Waterspirit, that would be great.
Yeah, sure. I will share that I came sort of back to this work, policy work, after the eco-anxiety support group. So thank you to Waterspirit indefinitely for that support. I highly recommend it, especially for advocates or activists who are experiencing burnout or who are just deep in their deep thoughts that are maybe not so bright. As Anne shared, I'm Rachel Dawn Davis. I'm the public policy and justice organizer for Waterspirit. And I really work to fully express our mission of hearing the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor. I direct Waterspirit's policy campaigns, so in New Jersey, the Northeast region, and all across Turtle Island, and also at all levels of government, through which we really educate and advocate morally, intergenerationally, I would say also on behalf of sacred water in the areas of environmental justice and clean water, stormwater management and green infrastructure, and renewable energy. And we're always and ever working to prevent further climate chaos, really focusing on, through water, the interconnectedness of all of these, the interlocking injustices of our time. And so I would just, without taking up too much time, check out our news section and calendar regularly, and definitely feel free to get in touch if you're interested in action.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for telling us a little bit about what your organizations are doing to protect this amazing planet we're on.
Okay, so what are some easy things that an average resident can do to protect species? Choose renewable energy, walk, ride a bike, take public transportation, or carpool.
Switch from single-use plastics to reusables, reduce animal product consumption, and stop using pesticides.
There are many things you could do at home regarding how you use your lawn. Do you have a lawn or a garden? Perhaps you're using pesticides or fertilizer. You can stop using them. The best way to do that is to plant native species. Go into native plant gardening. And by doing that, you won't need those pesticides and fertilizers, because those plants, those native plants, are meant to be here. So they're going to do well here without all of that. Gardening with native plants is part of becoming river friendly. That's something you can do. We have a program at the Watershed where you can become a river friendly resident by taking steps. There are other groups around. I think New Jersey Audubon has something about lawns, and you know more about it because you're part of all of those groups. You're a wildlife,
It's the Garden for Wildlife. Yeah.
Garden for Wildlife. There's all kinds of programs you can get involved in that will help you to keep water clean, and that keeping those things out of the ecosystem will help all those animals. And I see someone's putting in in the chat, the New Jersey Audubon Garden for Wildlife. That's great. So just look for those things and just look around with what you're doing. Maybe you can switch and buy some organic produce. I know it's difficult and expensive, but there might be opportunities with local farms where you can do that. Shop locally as much as possible. So those are just a few things you might be able to do. We have, and one more minute before we'll stop to put our candles out. So if I either stop someone from talking by doing this, you'll know it's because our 21 minutes of our candlelight portion are up. So I'll turn it back to Anne, and then I'm going to tell you to be quiet, Anne.
That's harder to do than you think. So last things I want to tell you that are really important things that you can do to help protect endangered species. Get involved. You heard Pat and you heard Rachel both talking about being public advocate in your own community. Go into town, go to the town council. Don't be afraid to talk. You can reach out for support from either of our organizations. Volunteer. There's some great opportunities for volunteering from all of these great organizations and so many more. And also, please support your local nonprofits, because, we need help, and that's how we continue doing the works that we do. Okay, I'm going to try not to ramble on because I think we're approaching our 21st minute.
We have 4 seconds. Okay, so now we will extinguish our candles, and these went for 21 minutes. And the 21 minutes represented the 21 species that went extinct this year in the United States. That's in the US alone.
I'm going to read for you Grace and the Great Turning by Joanna Macy. When you act on behalf of something greater than yourself, you begin to feel it acting through you with a power greater than your own. This is grace. Today, as we take risks for the sake of something greater than our separate individual lives, we are feeling graced by other beings and by Earth itself. Those with whom and on whose behalf we act give us strength and eloquence and staying power we didn't know we had. We just need to practice knowing that and remembering that we are sustained by each other in the web of life. Our true power comes as a gift like grace, because it is, in truth, it is sustained by others. If we practice drawing on wisdom and beauty and strengths of our fellow human beings and our fellow species, we can go into any situation and trust that the courage and intelligence required will be supplied. So thank you, everyone, for joining us here today. I'd like to take some time to give some moments for questions and answers. If anyone has a question for any of our panelists directly, or if you have a question that one of us can pop out of thin air, we'd love to answer, or we'd try to answer. You can feel free to raise your hand, unmute if you have a question. Well, while you're dwelling on that, I'm going to mention that there was in the chat, our friend Kristen did put in the chat about New Jersey Audubon's certified wildlife habitat program, that you can have your own yard certified as a wildlife habitat. You can have your own yard certified as river friendly. You can also certify your yard, join the homegrown national park movement. There's so many things you can do in your own yard. Those are fun to me. I appreciate them very much. And I'm glad that I know people in these programs who are hosting them. They're wonderful. Well, then I'm going to begin to wrap it up because I can see many people do need to go. I will be sticking around if anyone has questions, or if there's anything listed in the chat, one of my coworkers will let me know. But thank you all for joining us today. And I extend a huge thank you to our panelists, Larissa Smith from Conserve Wildlife Foundation of New Jersey, Jenna Reynolds from Save Coastal Wildlife, Pat Heaney from the Watershed Institute, and from all of us, the rest of the Waterspirit team, I thank you, and I make this sincere wish for you. May you be happy, may you be loved, may you be well, and may you be at peace. Thanks for joining us today, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Wanishi, I will say in the native language of Lenape-Hoking, Wanishi.
Wanishi. Wanishi, Pat.